If you're a music producer or a content creator, then the new lineup of Apple computers that got announced in October of 2024 should get you really excited. We're talking machines that are more powerful, more efficient, and with brand new designs at the same price point as they were before. That'll get you ready for Apple Intelligence and get you up and running on your next project in no time. I've made no secret on this channel that my favorite desktop computer that Apple has ever released is the Mac Mini. I love it for its size, I love it for its functionality, and I love it specifically for what it can do and the price point that it comes in. I love the flexibility of the Mac Mini because you can choose whatever monitor you want. You're not tethered to whatever screen comes with an iMac, let's say, for example. You can use your own peripherals like your own keyboard and mouse. You're not tethered to whatever comes with the packaging of an iMac, again, for example. And it's got a wide variety of ports from USB-A, USB-C, Thunderbolt, and HDMI. This makes it the perfect setup, in my opinion, for someone who's an inspiring content creator or music producer, or someone who's a little bit more advanced in the intermediate to even the advanced stage. The Mac Mini is perfect for someone who's working on a budget but still wants to get the most bang for the buck that they possibly can. So in October of 2024, Apple introduces the brand new Mac Mini, completely redesigned, that looks a little bit more like an Apple TV. In fact, as the dimensions go, it's slightly bigger than the Apple TV, but not by much. Instead of it being a 7-inch by 7-inch cube like the previous generation Mac Mini, it is now a 5-inch by 5-inch cube, which is only an inch and a half approximately bigger than the Apple TV. It also comes in slightly thicker than the Apple TV box, from Apple TV's 1.2 inches to the new Mac Mini's 2 inches. This is obviously for it to pack as many components as it possibly can in that small amount of space, and also for the airwaves to have some room to keep your Mac cool when you're doing all those intensive projects. And let's talk about those intensive projects. Apple went out of their way to show that you can use After Effects on this Mac Mini. You can do hardcore gaming on this computer apparently, but you can also obviously use the Apple native programs like my favorite DAW of choice, Logic Pro, on the Mac Mini. I've had the M2 Pro Mac Mini for just about a year now, and it is absolutely my favorite desktop that I've ever owned by Apple, especially when it comes to music production. For a whopping $1,200, I have a machine that's super compact, 7x7, that has all the peripherals that I need in the back, that allows me to work on practically any project I want. And I'm someone that primarily uses software instruments to make all of my music. I'm also recording 48-bit audio with guitars and any other analog instruments, if you will. But primarily what I'm doing is I'm working with software instruments and plugins to get the sounds that I want. On top of that, I'm EQing and mastering everything myself. I don't send it out to anyone. So from beginning to end, I am writing, recording, arranging, mixing, and mastering all of my stuff in Logic Pro on the Mac Mini. So trust me when I say that I was both excited and skeptical when Apple unveiled the new Mac Mini form factor. I mean, this thing is compact. Apple has mastered the art of cramming power into tiny spaces before, but with the Mac Mini, we're looking at a design that can practically disappear into your setup, freeing up desk space while still giving you pro-level performance, at least apparently. Now, I'm planning to get my hands on a Mac Mini, maybe the basic version, maybe the M4 Pro version, to really try this thing out and set it through its paces. But the promise is there. We've got Apple's new M series chips powering the whole experience, delivering a leap in speed and efficiency. These chips are tuned to handle the heaviest of tasks with ease. We're talking about multi-track music production, 4K video editing, and live streaming, all happening without breaking a sweat. I mean, think about the fact that we live in a world where a computer that is 5 inches by 5 inches can not only handle your music production needs, but if you're a content creator, can handle your video production needs, editing in 4K and beyond, your live streaming needs, if you want to go on Twitch with your music production, or if you want to live stream on YouTube or any other platform for that matter. A computer with the M4 chip or the M4 Pro chip and a Mac Mini can definitely handle that. And not to geek out over this, but finally we live in a world where 16 gigabytes of memory is coming standard. It's about time. It's 2024, it's almost 2025. A whole ton of AI is about to infiltrate our lives. We need as much memory as we possibly can. So 16 gigabytes of memory, even though that decision wasn't made for music producers, is definitely going to benefit music producers. Because now you're looking at standard 16 gigabytes of memory for whatever version of the Mac Mini that you get, including the cheapest $599 version of it. So imagine this, you can get a brand new Mac Mini with the M4 chip, 16 gigabytes of RAM. Granted, you only get 256 gigabytes of solid state drive space, which is criminal. Nonetheless, you get that for $599. A $200 upgrade to $799 is gonna get you that exact same configuration, but with 512 gigabytes of solid state drive space as opposed to the 256. And in my experience of producing music for over 25 years, I highly recommend that you go for at least the 512 gigabytes of solid state drive space, because you need some space for your DAW and whatever stock sounds and plugins that it comes with. From there, you don't have to pay the Apple tax of upgrading your hard drive space. I would highly recommend you buy an external solid state drive to connect to one of the Thunderbolt 5 ports that are on this computer that can transfer speeds of up to 120 gigabytes a second. That in itself is crazy. Any issues that you may have had with transfer speeds will now be a thing of the past. You get yourself a hard drive off of Amazon that is decently priced. Black Friday is coming up soon, so you can wait until then to get a really good hard drive for a really good price. Plug that into your Mac Mini and you'll be good to go. Now there's two things about the Mac Mini that they didn't say anything about, but were really glaring to me as a music producer, and this is why I say I had a little bit of skepticism when they announced the new form factor. First off, I don't see any USB-A ports here whatsoever. And that is a huge downside for music producers, because a lot of our gear that we've had for many, many years, whether it's MIDI controllers or iLock sticks or anything like that, come in the USB-A form factor. What does that mean? That means you now need a dongle to connect your equipment to the Mac Mini. Now for someone like me, that's not a big problem because I have the Apple Thunderbolt display from 2011, the 27-inch that I rock to this day. It is absolutely my favorite monitor that has ever been released in the market, period. Yes, it's only 2K, but I don't really care. It gives me the real estate that I need. And I have a bunch of ports in the back that I use over and over again that are USB 2.0. Those USB 2.0 ports, granted they're not 3.0, they're still good for MIDI controllers, my audio interfaces, iLock sticks, and anything else that I might need for my music production. So heads up, if you're thinking of getting a Mac Mini, you might need a dongle or two to connect your peripherals to the Mac Mini to make some music, or you can get something like the iVanky Fusion Dock Pro 1 Plus. Through one single connection, this dock can get you 4 USB-A ports, a mini SD card slot, a regular SD card slot, 2 USB-C ports, one of which can power your laptop, and not one, not two, but 3 HDMI connections that allow you to hook up 3 4K displays at 60 Hertz. The iVanky Fusion Dock Pro 1 Plus is sleek, it's slim, and connects to your Mac Mini via one of your 5 ports that'll give you all those extra ports that you might be missing for your music production needs. The Fusion Dock Pro 1 Plus is something that I'm adding to my setup, and I want to thank them for sponsoring this portion of the video. If you're interested in trying out the Fusion Dock Pro 1 Plus for your new setup with your Mac Mini, then I'll put a link in the description box below. The second thing that I thought was a little bit weird about the Mac Mini's new setup is the fact that the power button is no longer on the back of the Mac Mini, it's actually underneath it. So you're gonna have to like lift the Mac Mini up, press the power button, and then put it back down. Or maybe there's enough clearance from your table to where the Mac Mini begins for your finger to fit in there and just press the button. Who knows, we'll try it out when we get our hands on it. But I thought that was a little bit odd. What do you think? One of the coolest things that I saw about the Mac Mini though for music producers and content creators alike is the fact that now you can upgrade your memory to up to 64 gigabytes of internal memory. It's a $600 upgrade from the 24 gigabyte option that comes with the M4 Pro version of the Mac Mini that starts at $1399. You do that $600 upgrade and now you're looking at $1999. You're looking at a $2,000 Mac Mini, a stark contrast from the $599, $600 price that they're advertising as the starting price for the base model. But you can get a 64 gigabyte unified memory version of the Mac Mini with the M4 Pro chip, which has 12-core CPU, 16-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine for $1,999. That is the 512 gigabyte of solid state drive version. If you want to upgrade to the terabyte version of that, now you're looking at $2,199 for a terabyte of hard drive space and 64 gigabytes of unified memory. That machine will be a beast. I don't think it'll slow you down in any way, shape, or form, regardless of what you're doing, what software instruments you might be using, what DAW you might be using, or what project you might be working on. Now, in my experience of using the M2 Pro Mac Mini, I will tell you this, I've had no issues using Logic Pro or anything like that. In fact, one of the projects that I've been working on is a massive 50 or 60 track project with live drums, with software instruments, with plugins on practically everything EQ plugins, mixing plugins, mastering plugins, the whole nine. It is a monster of a project and the Mac Mini has handled it absolutely beautifully, no qualms whatsoever. The one downside that I've seen is that when I load certain software instruments like Contact, like East West Strings or anything like that, it does slow down just a bit to load them. Once it loads them, it's fine, everything's good. My setup is 16 gigabytes of RAM with 512 gigabytes of solid state drive. I do want to say, as far as hard drive space goes, I've actually had no issues whatsoever. It would be ideal to have more than 16 gigabytes of unified memory. I have noticed my computer slow down here and there when it comes to some intensive stuff like exporting 4K video or again working on huge projects, but nothing that like stops me in my tracks. Again, I've had no issues with Logic Pro whatsoever when it comes to producing or anything like that. I usually have my samples at 256 or 512 when I'm mixing and mastering, and when I'm recording, I have it at 128. And if need be, I turn on low latency so that there's no latency when I'm recording, and then when I'm done with my recording and everything's good, I turn the low latency off to go back into mixing mode, and everything works out just fine. But as a music producer, if you are trying to dip your toes into the water, then the $599 Mac Mini might be a great start for you. Granted, it's 256 gigabytes of solid state drive, which in my opinion is not enough. You do need to go to the 512. So now you're thinking $799 versus $599, but the $200 difference in my opinion is not that big of a difference when it comes to the overall investment into your music making career. I love the Mac Mini. I especially love the M2 Pro version of the Mac Mini that I have. I also had the M1 version of the Mac Mini back when it was announced in 2020, and I absolutely loved that machine as well. So this brand new form factor of the M4 Mac Mini and even the M4 Pro Mac Mini has me really excited, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you want to check out my other thoughts on the Mac Mini when it comes to music producing, or the MacBook Air for that matter, you can check out these videos right here. Until next time, my name is Amir, like the kind you look into, and I'll see you next time.